On today's question of faith, what should I give up for Lent? Everybody, this is Question of Faith. I'm Mike Hayes, the Director of Young Adult Ministry here in the Diocese of Cleveland.
And I'm Father Damian Ferentz, Vicar for Evangelization.
And I'm Maria Wancata, and I am with the communications team.
Hey, you're new.
I am.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
Wait, how new are you, though?
I've been here almost 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, well, to me, you were here when I arrived, so I never think of you as new.
She's less new than me.
Yeah.
I've been here a little more than a year. And so, today someone asked, it's, by the way, Happy Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras.
You're all
Got my
decked out.
beads.
Yeah. Father Damien has his beads on. And I had a donut this morning to celebrate Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
So Happy Mardi Gras, and tomorrow is Ash Wednesday, day of fast and abstinence in the church, in case you missed that little note. So how do you decide what to give up for Lent every year?
Well, do things like this. Get together with friends and talk about it before Ash Wednesday gets there. And because there have been times in my life where I put it off and then I made bad decisions or tried to do too much. So I think it's nice that the day before, and I have thought about it even before we got together today, but to pray and think about what I'm going to be doing for Lent. So that's how.
Okay. So did you talk to anybody or?
Yeah, I talked to some friends, and I'm talking to you now. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote down my things so I wouldn't forget. Fasting's pretty easy. The last few years I've given up alcohol for Lent. And during COVID, I really took to Manhattans. I was never a bourbon drinker before, but one of our priests in the diocese during the lockdown would have Wednesday night meals that he would cook, and he would prepare Manhattans before dinner. And I kind of liked them. So on my day off and sometimes on the weekends, I'll have a Manhattan. So no Manhattans, but also no beer, no wine, no alcohol during Lent. And I like to have a drink. So that'll be difficult, but it'll also be good. I think it'll be very, very good for me. I'll drink a lot of seltzered water, And then in terms of the prayer, well, we talked about prayer last week quite a bit, and I'm just going to do more silence because I don't want to add anything, in terms of all the prayers that I pray in the breviary and the daily mass, but I think more intentional in moments of silence. And then in terms of the almsgiving, I think I'm going to thin out my wardrobe. I just moved back from Rome this summer, and I already had some clothes in storage. I got rid of some, moved back to the seminary, but I'm looking at some shirts, T-shirts especially, that I haven't worn for a long time. They're nice. I think other people could use them better than I could, make more use of them, better use. So I think I'm going to be thinning that out, and that'll be one of the ways that I give at least one. So
that's a regular practice for me. I turn all the hangers in my closet the opposite way, and then when I take them off and wear them, then I can put them on the right way with the hook facing the pole.
I've heard of this method before. You're one of these people. That's great.
Yeah, and then basically every 6 months I say, okay, what didn't I wear in 6 months? Well, if I didn't wear it in 6 months, and it's not like a seasonal thing, or it's not a special outfit for a special occasion or something, then I give it away.
That's smart.
That is smart. That's a nice trick.
Yeah. Maria, what about you?
All right. So I kind of look at it kind of like I don't do a lot of New Year's resolutions, but I kind of do it during Lent. So I'm trying to be more active throughout the day. I'm an early riser. I usually work out before coming to work, but then the rest of the day I just sit at my desk. So I've gotten a standing desk, but I'm going to fast from the elevator. So I work on the 6th floor, and I counted this morning, that's over 100 steps to climb. So it's going to take me a lot of time, and it's going to be quiet time then. Settle my brain before starting the workday. For prayer, I joined the Pray 40 with Jesus Lent Challenge in the Hallow app. So it's Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus in The Chosen. Jim Caviezel, who plays Jesus in Passion of the Christ. And they're going to be praying on the 7 last words of Christ. So when I checked this morning, there's over 85,000 people that have signed up for the challenge.
Wow.
So I'm going to try to do it at night because that's when I tend to be tired and just want to go to sleep and don't do my prayers as much. And then for giving, my family and I were going to do the CRS Rice Bowl program.
Nice.
So last year we did it. My kids kind of liked it. And then this year, they've really been paying attention to what's going on in the world lately. And they want to do it too. So all 4 of us will give to one rice bowl. And then I kind of like the idea that at the end, we can see what we've done together as a family, that individuals working together can make a big impact when they pool their resources together and give.
That's very cool.
Yeah, we'll put the Catholic Relief Services Rice Bowl stuff up in the notes. My parish is doing this. I kind of brought that resource to my parish this year and said, "Hey, why don't we do this?" And we were just talking about it last night. And we were saying, do they have any resources for Ukraine? Because the Catholic Relief Services, of course, is the international arm of giving for the Catholic Church, and so we'll put up what they're doing for Ukraine too in the show notes, because they're doing some significant stuff, which is great. So for me, so last year I did Whole 30 for Lent, which was really like a Whole 40, right? Just 40 days.
What do you mean Whole 30?
So Whole 30 is a diet where you basically it's no sugar. It's basically 30 days where you're only eating whole foods. And I lost 35 pounds doing it as well. It's probably a little bit longer than Lent because I kept it going for a while. I have put more than that back since then. Yeah, I kind of just stopped watching what I was eating over the summer and then never really got back on track. And so now I was like, well, okay, this worked last year. let's just try that again. Do what you can, not what you can't. And I didn't find it all that difficult to do, but I had to be really intentional about it. And you have to cook. You have to, you really have to plan out your meals every day and every week. And so I spent a lot of time doing that. But what I found was that when I did it, I've really felt good about myself. I really felt better about myself. And I really felt more mindful about what I was eating and more intentional about that. So it's like, okay, I just need to get back on track with this. So I actually planned out 30 days of menus the other day. So this way I don't have to work all that hard on it at the last second. And I could just go and do my shopping and all these other things, which is good.
Cool.
So more organized. And the other thing that I found too is that kind of fasting led to prayer. Like when I was sort of intentionally fasting from whatever it was that I was fasting from that day, whether it was sugar or something else, I realized that we have the opportunity to fast. Like, how many people in the world live on one meal a day that would relish the opportunity to fast? So it kind of gave me a sense of solidarity with the poor and said, okay, how can I pray for people who don't have anything to eat? Even though I'm trying to pare down what I eat, I'm lucky that I get the chance to even just pare down what I eat. And then giving, I might bring this back. I did this a while ago and I recorded it. I gave away something for every day of Lent. And it had to be something hard. It had to be something that was like either that was meaningful to me. It couldn't just be like, oh, here's my crap and I don't want it anymore. Or this is broken. Do you want it? Yeah. I always say when my wife and I go out to dinner and she eats something and she doesn't like it, she goes, do you want this? Do you want to try this? And I'm like, you never give me anything good, so it must taste awful. She said, yeah, pretty much. So it can't be lousy. It has to be something good. So I actually thought I'd start today. And so, Father, I know that you are a big Bruce Springsteen fan. So there's a little coffee table book, Bruce Springsteen album by album. And Maria, this is one of my favorites. It's Henry Nouwen, and it's Compassion. So I'm 2 days ahead. See that? Lent hasn't even started. I'm 2 days ahead.
I was talking to Jennifer up on the 8th floor today. She's a Ruthenian Catholic, and their fast begins today.
Oh, wow.
So maybe you were, in solidarity with our Byzantine brothers and sisters in this early giving. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all do kind of different things, which is good, And Maria's a little bit around fitness with the elevator and be around food and losing weight. And Father, refraining from alcohol and things like that. If someone was just starting out, what do you think we would advise them to do?
Pick one thing and do it well. I would say, obviously, the church wants us to fast pray and give alms, but I think some people overload and try to do too much. Then they set these very high standards, and then when they fail, they get down on themselves and beat themselves up. So that's why it is good to do this with others and figure out what would be a good thing for me to do that would help me grow in holiness and help me be more like Jesus and more giving. And then you kind of figure that out. And then benefits would come from that too. And before I forget, I just want to speak to Maria's taking the stairs. I'm a stairman too, even though my dad was an elevator mechanic and he would not like that. But there's been studies out that say if you really want to be creative or you're going to be going into a meeting where you need creativity, take the steps or walk first because it gets the blood flowing. Yeah. And so even before the podcast, well, it's only one flight for us, but whatever. But that there's benefits from doing these things. You're doing them for the sake of doing them, but there's nice benefits that come from them too.
Yeah, exactly. I do not take the stairs, I must say, but maybe I'll try. I actually, in my building, I'm on the 5th floor of my apartment building. I have a condo, and I'm on the 5th floor here. So something with the number 5, apparently. 5
wounds of Christ.
That's right. There you go. Very nice, Father. But yeah, I might try to take the stairs more often. I found that when I get to the 4th floor, then I'm a little winded and I got to take that last one.
It's the third that I'm starting to count how much more.
Yeah, it's rough, right? It's rough, yeah. But like anything else, and prayer's a lot like that too. Like I always say, prayer is a lot like the relationship you have with the gym. On that first day, it's really, really hard, right? It's hard to lift those weights for the first time that you haven't lifted in a while, and it's, but then after a while, okay, now it's a little easier the second day, and then the third day it's even more easy, and then the 4th day, oh, look at this, I can do more than I thought I could. Yeah. And so it's the same kind of thing with prayer. I think you start out small, and the thing I meant to say this the other day on the podcast last week. I said, pray as you can, not as you can't. Mm-hmm. Don't try to do something like, okay, I'm going to do 5 novenas, over the next 5 months. A good challenge, I suppose, but you might want to start a little smaller and see, okay, can I get into a regular rhythm each day?
Yeah, and if you can't pray, and if you do fail, turn that into a prayer. Lord Jesus, I'm trying, but I'm so weak, and I wish I could do better than this, but I do love you, and I want you to help me, and here I am. And that's a great prayer. So the devil wants to get in and make us accuse ourselves and not like ourselves and challenge ourselves and somehow make us think that if we do these prayers, God will love us more. We're praying so that we can love God more. And that's really important to keep in mind as we move forward.
Yeah, it's not a competition. It's Jesus just wants you to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to start somewhere, right? 1 pull-up is good enough for the first day. The second day, maybe you do 4, So, yeah, all that stuff's good. I was thinking, you were just saying before, I'm in deacon formation, and 2 of my friends, Scott and Mike, are God willing, going to be ordained in May. And they have really been sort of struggling in the last, they're getting so close to the finish line, right? And they said, but, we've really had a hard time. They said, if I didn't believe in evil before, I really believe in it now. Or that this is a thing where I have never doubted myself more. I've never faced more different kinds of things in my life. I have to tell you, a lot of my deacon friends have all reported that, in their last year of formation, they faced all kinds of crazy things. And so, so one, pray for them, folks. That's the first thing I wanted to say. But then the second thing is, at times in your life when you're headed toward a goal, that's probably going to be the time where, you need the prayers the most, and so maybe toward the end of your Lenten journey this time when you think, okay, I've done this for 5 weeks in a row. Here comes week 6. And then all of a sudden you hit a wall, right? And you're like, oh, wait a minute.
And always, the devil's really smart and he's subtle and there's excuses. So I could imagine a few weeks in, I'm with some priest friends. Oh, does it really matter if you just have a Manhattan here? And does it really matter if you spend that much time in silence? You've been working really hard. All these little voices getting in, tempting to pull you away from these things. So, we'll get into this in a moment, but if Jesus was tempted in the desert, then we sure will be tempted in our desert of Lent too.
Yeah. Well, here's a question too. So, do you take Sunday off? That could be a whole other podcast, maybe. But do you take Sunday off?
Yeah, that could be a whole other podcast. I will not. I was out to lunch with my godmother last Monday. Was it President's Day? It was some holiday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And she told me that she and her husband were best friends with my mom and dad. And she said, I never knew anyone who took Lent as seriously as your father. He's a construction worker, but he, fasted throughout Lent and was really serious about it, didn't drink, lost weight. And he's just a very devout man. And I said, maybe that's where, I get some of this. So because of that, I don't want to take off Sundays because I'm either going to be all in or I'm not, So I would cheat too much. Then I would take off, St. Patrick's Day and then St. Joseph's Day. And then before you knew it, I'd be having 3 Manhattans a week. So I just know myself.
Right. Yeah, I can't either. Take me too off track.
Yep. I'm same way. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to, no. I'm on the train. It's running. I don't want to stop the train and then have to restart it again, right? It just doesn't work. I've had this argument with people all the time. I'm like, okay, if you can't do it for 40 days, why are you going to try to cheat a little? I always think, okay, I did it for 6 days and now I get a day off. I'm like, no. The idea is, and people in addiction studies and stuff say this, like 30 days in a row is what it takes to break a habit, not 6 days and stop and then pick back up and then 6 days and stop and pick back. That's sort of missing the point, I think.
Yeah, but to play devil's advocate, I lived with enough priests in Rome who during Lent would have a drink or eat meat or whatever their fast was. And they would say, this is part of celebrating the resurrection. We're a resurrection people. So there's that aspect too. And something is better than nothing.
Yes.
But it sounds like we're all hardcore here.
That's right.
It's knowing yourself, too.
Maria Wancata's hardcore. What time do you wake up in the morning? You said you wake up early.
4:15.
See? That's what I mean.
Lord. I recognize
but I'm in bed by 9.
I recognize one 4:15 a day. That one's not it.
That's great.
Now, I'm also far past 9:15 also, so good for you.
Ditto.
Okay, so I think we're all set for Lent. And then we're going to take a look at a church. I'm actually going to our church search today, this afternoon, St. Ignatius of Antioch. I have not been there.
Okay.
I'm going to drop their 9 nights stuff off this afternoon.
But I am certain that you've seen it from the highway because just around West Boulevard, West 105th Street, it's north of I-90, and you see it. It's illuminated at night. It's probably one of the highest bell towers in the diocese. It's beautiful. And from the outside, it's beautiful. Inside, the one thing I remember is they have one of the high pulpits, and I think there's a door you have to open up and you walk in the back and close the door behind you to preach. Now, I don't know if Father Estabrook uses that, but I remember celebrating a funeral there, and the pastor at the time used that, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been there. A few of the young adults they're pretty active in the diocese, they go there, and sort of like a more traditional crowd tends to go there as well. Right?
Well, it's a beautiful, like traditional Roman-style church. The windows are gorgeous. It's high ceilings. Yeah, it's cool. I'm looking forward to getting back there for 9 nights. Cool. Can't wait.
Yeah, so St. Ignatius of Antioch, I'll be over there this afternoon. So.
Not to be confused with St. Ignatius High School.
Correct, which is St. Ignatius of Loyola.
Correct.
Where all good things come from, said the Fordham grad.
Yeah, right.
And so our gospel for this week, the first Sunday of Lent, the temptation in the desert. Wow, that's a great gospel for Lent, isn't it?
It was. And as we just mentioned a few minutes ago, the fact that Jesus was led out into the desert to be tempted should say something to us about, well, if he's like us in all things but sin, then we too will be tempted, especially during a time where we're trying to take our faith seriously. You were talking about your friends in the diaconate program being tempted just near the end. Same was true with me at the end of my college seminary, the end of my major seminary, even the transition from Catholic U coming back to the Sem. I think when the devil knows you're going to be doing something good for the kingdom and dedicating your life, he's going to try to get in there and mess it all up. That's his mission.
Yeah.
He's a liar, Prince of Darkness.
I think we tend to say, too, like, well, I'm only human, right? Like, and when I get tempted, well, I'm only human. And I guess there's some sympathy in that as well. But I learned this in Christology this week, which is it's always good when you can apply your seminary teaching to whatever you're doing, right? We asked the question, well, if Jesus was tempted, then, what does that mean about his humanity? We were talking about the divinity and humanity of Jesus. And our professor said, well, we tend to think that, like, sin is part of being being human. That's sort of constitutive of being human. He goes, no, it's an aberration of our humanity. He goes, Jesus is more human than we are. And we're like, huh? Like you saw like 5 people just go, oh, wait a minute. Okay. All right. Now I get this.
In the beginning, it was not so. God's original plan for us was not to sin and to be in full communion with him.
Yeah. And Jesus is the example of that for us.
He's the new Adam.
Absolutely. So,
Maria, do you have anything about temptation to say? You look like you're pondering over there.
I was thinking along the lines of immediate gratification, and that through the example of Jesus' strength in the desert, he's the one we should be relying on through all of this, so that when we have those moments of weakness, he can help assist us through those. So as we approach Lent and going through whatever we decide to do, it's in those moments of weakness where we just want to give up. He is our salvation. He is the one to look to help us get through it.
So as you go through Lent, look to Christ. He will help you get through it. I always say, look for the light in the darkness. There's always a piece of light there if you look hard enough. Even if it's something small, that means the light still exists. So walk toward the light this Lent, and pray for us, because we're going to pray for you throughout these 40 days, right?
Yes, and I want to give a shout out to Reg. It's Maria's mother-in-law, who will email me if she sees me on the cathedral live stream mass, and I'm sure she'll listen to this. So, got to give a shout out to Reg.
Oh, thank you.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right.
Always good. Maria, thanks for joining us this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great to have you.
Yeah, and so this has been another Question of Faith. I'm Mike Hayes.
I'm Father Damien.
And I'm Maria Wancata.
And we'll see you all again next week.